Welcome to Coding Adventures, everyone. Today we are already on the lesson 3 in our fun series of lessons to learn coding using JavaScript and CodeGuppy.com platform. So in today's lesson, as we discussed, we're gonna talk about colors in JavaScript. Okay, so let's get started. Alright, so before we discuss about colors, let's recap quickly what we learned last time. So we have here our notebook, and if you remember, we discussed last time about how to draw different shapes in JavaScript using the CodeGuppy.com environment. We learned about the canvas, about resolution, about how coordinates work, and we basically built this toolbox of useful instructions that we can use them to basically draw pretty complex shapes on the canvas. Lastly, we discussed about stroke weight, about how to create thicker lines. This is actually not a shape drawing command, but actually a shape setting, attribute setting command. And today we're gonna extend this toolbox of commands with color commands. Okay, so I thought, what better way to talk about colors and learn about colors than maybe create a small project together. Rather than draw messy lines like in last lesson, let's draw a nice picture. Let's attempt this one, and I'm warning you, this is totally unscripted. I may mess up the code, but we're gonna debug it together. So if you see me making mistakes, type there in the chat and help me fix the program, okay? So let me put here on the screen. This is the kind of picture that we want to draw together. So by doing this, we'll exercise not only the previous learned instructions, such as we can see here rectangles, we can see here about circles and so on, but we'll also introduce colors. And as you can see here on this picture fills the entire canvas, and there are some useful coordinates put there on the side just to guide us there, right? So let's attempt to do this this picture in code, and while we are drawing it, we'll also see how to introduce color into this picture. Okay, so I'm gonna switch now to my drawing notepad here, and I suggest, remember, I encourage you to have a drawing pad nearby. It's very useful to keep notes about coding. Even if coding is about putting code in the computer, it's also very useful to take notes in the notepad. So let's switch to the notepad, and I'm gonna attempt to draw here basically, you know, I'm gonna use a ruler. I'll try to be a little bit more precise than last time. So remember the resolution that we have on our canvas, it's 800 pixels by 600. So my ruler here is graded in inches. So I'm gonna choose 8" on horizontal. So 100 pixels for each inch. And actually I'm gonna put some ticks here for each 100 pixels. And this is very useful when I'm gonna encode this into the code. This basically will help us to better find out the coordinates. So let's go to 600 here, or 6 inches on the notepad, 8, and then let's draw this line here as well. And let's put some ticks on the left side as well. So like that. All right, so as we discussed, the origins of this coordinate system, it's in the top left corner. Here we have 0, 0, and then on horizontal axis, which goes this way, here will be 100, 200, here 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, and then the canvas ends at 800. And on vertical we have the same, 100, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so we kind of created here a canvas. We can, you know, draw some vertical lines as well. Perhaps, perhaps we should, you know, create this kind of canvas on a on computer and print it out, have it with nicer, or on a grid paper. Grid paper is also very good at this kind of activities. And then on this notepad, we're gonna try to attempt to draw that car image. So let's take a look again at the image. And we see that we have a rectangle around 400 coordinates there. We'll approximate it here. There in the picture is not exactly like 400, but here we're gonna, in our picture, we're gonna put it at 400. Then, yeah, let's try to draw this car now. So we draw a rectangle here, one on top. Let's put 2 wheels. And if we look again at the image, we see that the car sits on the ground. So let's draw also perhaps a little bit of a ground here. And here will be the sky. Eventually on top will be the sky. So maybe we should draw this one in a nice shade of blue. And then the ground, perhaps we should draw it with some sort of brown. We fill this area with brown. And then we're gonna draw a sun. And a sun, we can draw it like a circle that somehow goes outside of the canvas, but the portion that goes outside is not visible, so we don't care about it. And then we can draw some sun rays like that. Okay? So it doesn't look too complicated. And again, doing this kind of exercise is very important. Even if you are an older person, you can basically better understand the coordinate system. And if you are, if you are teaching in a school or a coding club, this kind of activity brings tons of fun to younger students. Okay, so let's get started. Let's attempt to encode this picture in the code. We're gonna use here some rectangle instructions, circles, and then we'll see how to draw the sun and the ground here. Well, as I mentioned, this is totally unscripted, so bear with me, we'll do it together, okay? I'm gonna start here, my code editor, and I have it here on the screen. I hope you can see it. And I'm gonna try to draw the first rectangle, the one that at the bottom of the car. So I'm gonna use the rect instruction, and I think I'm going 150 pixel to the right, and then perhaps 400 pixel on the vertical. The width, then we have to specify the width. Perhaps we should specify the width as 400 pixels and the height at 100 pixels. All right, let's run this one. Okay, we can see a rectangle, and here we should put the wheels, and below that the ground. But perhaps it's too thick, the body of the car. Maybe not, the height should not be 100, but let's put 80. Actually, let's use 100 because these are round numbers and will be much easier for us to calculate the coordinates. But if you want to create a more detailed and artistic picture, take your time and put the coordinates that you see they better fit. So, okay, so we have here the body of the car, and let's place another rectangle on top. So let's look again at the drawing. See, we try to draw the bottom of the car here. And now we need to place a smaller rectangle on the top. So that we're gonna attempt. So this one here, we encoded in the code that's starting at 150. That's what we put. So, and then we set the body, it's 400 pixel wide. So basically, anyway, it ends at 550. But this one, perhaps we should leave an equal space on each side. So this is, if this is 400, perhaps we should make this one 300. And leave 50 pixel on the left and 50 on the right. And here we should make it 300. And then the bigger body is 400. Okay, let's try to do that and see how it looks. So the second rectangle will start basically at 200. And we'll have the width of 300. And the height here, maybe we should make it smaller, not really 100 like the other one. Well, we'll play with the code. Sometimes coding is about trial and error. It's not always, you'll not be able from the first time just to create a perfect program. But this is the fun part. coding is like a puzzle. You just work on the code, you run it, and then you see the effect, and you tweak it a little bit, and you run it again, and there is a lot of fun in this kind of activity. So let's try to encode the second rectangle. I'm gonna put it first here, although again, in this case, it doesn't matter. We discussed last time that the computer executes the instructions starting from top to bottom, but in this particular case, doesn't matter. In some cases, obviously, it matters. So this one should start at 200. And now, if the other car was starting at 400, if we go 300 on vertical, we'll make the top piece 100 pixel, thick. Maybe we should put it 100 for now. Width is 300, and then the height is 100. Let's run these two codes. Well, we have a car there. Well, it's not the fanciest car. Looks a little bit Minecrafty. Perhaps we should rename the course and make it a Minecraft coding course. But no, we are still in JavaScript in the CodeGap environment. So let's make these coordinates 320, and then see, if I went a little bit down with the vertical coordinate, the two rectangles will overlap. So we'll make it actually the first one a little bit shorter, not that tall. So we'll make it 80. The height will be 80 here. All right. Well, it looks a little bit better. It's not perfect if it's to compare it with the original image. I think it's working for now. Let's try to place two wheels here on the bottom. But before placing the wheels, let's understand what will be the coordinate on vertical here. So perhaps we should place the wheels centered at this coordinate, but what will be here the coordinates? Let's get back to the drawing board and figure that out. So we start the car, and we basically draw the big rectangle at 400 here, and we made it 100 thick. So actually here it's 500 in our case. Perhaps we can make it a little bit not that thick, but well, we can leave it at 500 here. So in our case here is not 500, 500 it's here. So the circles, the center of the circles, we can place it at well, on horizontal we have what is here, 150 plus 50, 200, and on vertical we are at 500. Right, this wheel here. And this one, the second one, on horizontal we should be at 200, like the first wheel, plus 300, this top part, so it should be at 500 and 500 on the vertical. All right, so let's, and we'll put a radius to the car of perhaps, I don't know, 30. We're gonna attempt a radius of 30 pixels and see how it looks. So let's encode these two circles in our program. I'm gonna switch now here to the code and encode the wheels circle. The first one 200, 500, and radius 30. And let me teach you a small technique here. I could also write the second instruction, but sometimes, especially when you are typing a lot of code, it's best to run the program from time to time to avoid accumulating errors. Because if you have an error, you can spot it right away. Oh, it's in the last piece of code that I wrote. But if you write a lot of code, you may not know where the error is. So yeah, we don't have any error. We have a wheel here. The car still the car is not that great, but well, bear with me. The lesson about today is for about colors and not about drawing nice artistic images. I leave that task to you. So I'm pretty sure you're gonna do a much better job than me drawing something interesting. So okay, let's encode the second wheel here. So we have circle, and then we said 500, 500, and we should make the same radius, otherwise the car will totally look wrong. Okay, so we have a decent car at this point. Let's make a little bit of a ground at the bottom here. And the way we're gonna do the ground is actually, well, we'll leave the ground at the end. Actually, we can do the ground right now. I think we are in good shape to do the ground. So we're gonna draw a rectangle at these coordinates, right? So just below the wheels. If we look again at the image, the car is looking like it's sitting on the ground. Maybe, you know, can be a little bit lower or higher, doesn't matter. That's just the way the artist can draw the car. But yeah, let's draw it at that coordinate. So what will be the coordinate for us? Well, if the center was at 500, actually the ground is at 530. 530 here is the ground, because we place the wheel, the center of the wheel at 500. Okay, so it's at 530. Well, this is very easy to encode it in the code. So let's go back here and draw the ground. So we'll do a rectangle. It starts on horizontal at 0 because we want to touch the left margin, and on vertical at 530. Then the width is the full width of the canvas, which is 800, and the height, well, the height is 70 more pixels, the remaining height until it goes outside of the canvas, because 530 plus 70 will be 600. Okay, let's see it. All right, we see here the ground. We don't see the bottom part of the rectangle, and the reason is because we discussed the canvas starts at 0, 0. So actually the last pixel on the canvas is 599. There are 600 in total, but they're starting from 0. The last one is 599. So, you know, if we want to really see the last one, maybe we should put here 69, and we can see the last part. And if we want to see also the right part, we should put 799. Now it looks better. Okay, so this is the ground basically. The car will sit on the ground. Now looks pretty sketchy, but we have to start somewhere. But you know, this picture will turn nicer and nicer once we add colors. For now, let's focus on the sun and see how we can draw the sun. And just not to forget what we're drawing here, let's put some comments. Car body. Remember, we start the comments with a / wheels, and this is the ground. And now let's focus on drawing the sun. And the way I'm thinking to draw the sun is to draw like a circle and place the coordinates in the top right corner. So that will be 800 and 0, and make a radius of 50. I don't know. Let's see how it looks. Maybe a little bit bigger will be better. Maybe 100 radius here. Maybe even bigger. Why not 2? Okay. We have a pretty nice sunny day here. We are in Florida here, so it's sunny all the time. You know, the sun is shining, so let's make a big sun. And now let's draw some rays. We're gonna draw 3 rays, and I think this will be the most difficult part because they don't go on horizontal or vertical, they go under arbitrary direction. So we'll do our best. May not look the best sun rays ever, but you know, it's pretty okay. Let's try to draw some rays, and the way we are doing it with line. Let me switch here to the notebook. So we're gonna start on this point here, and this point here. And of course, if you want to be mathematically correct, there is a way to figure out the coordinates of this point, because somehow they are on a circle, but we'll just approximate them at this time. So no worrying about being perfect here. And then the last part here, it's about finding out the other coordinates here. Okay, so let's see, maybe, you know, I put the radius 200, in our case the sun. At least we know that it goes 200, so our sun is at 600 here. So it's a little bit bigger sun because I put the radius 200 for the sun. So these points, actually, it's like 550. Let's try 550. 550, and perhaps we should choose 50 down. And let's try another point, maybe go 400 and make it a little bit down, 100. Let's see how it looks like. Well, it's a pretty decent sun ray, don't you think? Now, again, if you want to be more precise, you can either use a mathematical approximation or just draw this on a grid paper. And you know, on a grid paper you can be pretty exact. So let me show you, simulate the grid paper here really quickly with some vertical lines. So a grid paper, you know, will have vertical lines. You know, here we approximate it from 100, but you know, on a grid paper you can have as many divisions as you want basically here, or not as many as you want, but lots of divisions. And this will basically help you find the coordinates much easier than what we did here. You'll not have to guess that much, you'll not have to do calculations. You just draw nicely the picture on the grid paper, and then look there what will be count squares basically at the end of the day. Now, these squares that I drawn here are too big to be very useful. But again, on a grid paper you have many lines in between. You have very thin lines, so you can count these squares. And yeah, that's one way of drawing these pictures. Okay, so if you are implementing this kind of activity, or if you are an artist, considering drawing on a grid paper, or print that kind of grid paper on your computer with tiny squares and things like that. But for now, we're gonna just do it like we did here. And it's okay. You know what? We have fun with coordinates. More mental exercise doing it this way. So let's try the second ray. The second ray should come a little bit to the right, the first coordinate, so perhaps it's at 600, a little bit down, perhaps it's at 100 this time, and also go, so maybe 600 here and 150, I don't know, no, let's, it's totally wrong here, it's not at 600, maybe at 450, like if I'm relating to this one, and a little bit down than the other one, 150. Well, we can put it a little bit more down, maybe at 200. Yeah, very good sun ray. I can work with that. Let's try the third one. This one, perhaps this one is at 700, because it goes a little bit more to the right. And now down at this point, it's at 150. I think I went by 50 here, although it's not by 50 because these are on a circle, they don't go like that. But anyway, and perhaps here should be 500, and then here 300. Just let me try to be, oops, wow. No, that's not good. It's not at the 700 here. Maybe it says also, oh no, this is at 550 again. Oops, totally wrong. 600, but maybe 200 down, the first point. Yeah, maybe I should make it at 650. Maybe 700. Well, 700 should be pretty fine. Okay, but then the second point I should make it a little bit down and to the right. So a little bit down means to the right first one. Should be here 600, and maybe down here a little bit to the, like that, too much down, 300. Yeah, well, they're not very clean sun rays or very symmetrical, but we can work with this one. Anyway, the lesson for today, it's about colors. So let's now introduce colors, but I think it works as a celebration, this one. We're encoding this image. I have this little nice toy here, but you know, I think we did a great job encoding this image into the code. And now let's start discussing about colors. Okay, so perhaps we should first fill the sun, okay? What about filling the sun with colors? Or actually, you know what? Let's make this exercise a little bit more difficult. Let's fill first the car body with colors. So let's look at the original image. Oh, the car was green. Okay, the car is green. So we need to fill the car with green. First, let me save it. It will be terrible if I lose this program, if my computer crashes, right? We worked so hard on it. So I saved the program, and I want to show you something, a really cool trick here in this environment. So basically, when we're gonna work with colors, today we're gonna discuss about named colors. There are multiple ways of specifying colors. Today we are discussing particularly about named colors, And in the next lesson, we're going to discuss about RGB colors. RGB colors will give us more flexibility in terms on how to specify the different shades of colors. But names colors are very convenient because they are already predefined, and you just specify the name of a color and the computer will just use that color. And JavaScript is using here, and also in CodeRabbit.com, is using the name color defined by the HTML specification. So if you Google on, if you search on internet HTML colors, you'll find tons of articles and websites listing HTML colors, but you don't have to do that. You don't have to go outside of the environment. So if you go here on the backgrounds and actually on the colors, let me make this one a little bit smaller to see it better. See, all these are named colors, and these names we can use directly in our code. And basically, we can just, there is a very neat trick here. We can drag and drop this one in the code. We don't have to type it, right? So I lied to you. We don't color first the body of the car, but instead we're gonna color the background. So basically everything that we see here, and we should fill that one with a nice shade of blue, perhaps because that's the sun. So let's filter these colors by blue, and we are looking here, maybe light sky blue. It's named, really suggestive. So look what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna drag and drop this color here in the code. Let me close the palette, and yeah, maybe I should zoom out again, zoom in again. And let's see what the computer did here, or this environment. It added a new instruction saying background light sky blue, and let's run the program. And indeed, everything is on a blue background. We are not on a white background anymore. So let's understand this instruction. I'm switching to the notepad, and we are creating a new toolkit of commands here, this time for specifying shape attributes, colors, and things like that. And the first command in this category is the background command. So it's spelled like that, background, all lowercase letters. And what we have to specify in between parameters and parentheses is the name of the color. So the background color command is pretty suggestive. The name itself says that basically this is the color for the background. And now to specify the actual color, well, there are multiple ways. We said that we're gonna discuss about RGB colors, but for now, here we're gonna specify as a string the name of the color. One color is blue. In our case, it's not blue, it's light sky blue. I'm gonna switch to the code, but if you look back in that list of colors, you'll also find here the color blue itself. So anyway, light sky blue I think looks better for our case. Okay, so this is an interesting command. It's called background, and we didn't have to type it. We drag and drop it like in Scratch. But believe me, there are very few occasions when we're gonna drag and drop stuff. Coding in JavaScript, it's all about typing, okay? So we made the background blue, but okay, we now have to, let's make the ground perhaps here, right? Or let's start with the car. Let's use the first one here, the first rectangle, and find a nice shade of green in this list. So we're gonna go back to the list and filter by green shades. Let me see, what can I find green? Dark green? Yeah, or green. Yeah, it's just green. Now, we won't drag and drop the color in the code. So basically this one is for the car body, right? So let me go in the code here. If I'll drag and drop the command like that, the computer is always placing a background because these commands are under the background section here. So, but I have to change it into something else. So either I'll drag and drop it and change the command, or I'm gonna just type it from scratch. For now I drag and drop it, so I'm gonna replace background here with the command fill. And let's run it. Boom! Everything is green, even the sun is green. Who saw a green sun? That's weird, right? We're gonna fix that. But let's understand why this is happening, why the sun is green. So we discussed that the computer executes the instructions in order. So fill command, it's executed basically before the other commands. And once the fill command is executed, fill actually sets the fill color for the shapes. So instead of shapes being drawn empty, such as circles being drawn empty, just the stroke and empty inside, all the shapes from this point on are drawn in the color set by fill. So this is what fill is doing, basically specifies the fill command for the shapes. So let's run the program again and we'll see it. So basically, this is a shape, this rectangle, this is a shape, these two wheels are shapes, the ground is a shape, and sun is a shape. And as you can see, fill command sets this color for the shapes, and that's why these are all green. Now notice the stroke on the side is still black. For that we have a different command to control how we want the margin of the shapes to be drawn, with what color. By default is black. We just change the interior of the shapes and using the fill command. But we can, so what we have to do right now, we leave the fill in place here, so it will be applicable to the following, to the next two rectangles. This is the car body, but for the wheels, we're gonna put a new fill command here. And oh, and by the way, when we specify a string, we have two ways of specifying. I said between quotes, can be simple single quotes or double quotes. They are the same, 100% the same, I guarantee you. So don't worry. Some people prefer to use, you know, single quotes when they put text like that. Other people prefer to use double quotes. They are the same. Use whatever you find more useful. That's not the same to say about other signs here. Don't try to replace the other signs with something else. This is just valid for the quotes. So for the wheels, maybe we should put a nice shade of, what was the image again? Oh, they were brown. Okay, brown wheels. Anyway, we can try to replicate that brown shade. Perhaps this maroon command. And we'll not drag and drop it. We'll just remember how it's spelled, maroon. And we're gonna close this palette here and say here maroon. Let's run it again. Right. So we have now the body of the car green. The wheels are brown, more maroon. But everything else that follows that command, they are also maroon. So let's see the ground. What we should do the ground? Let's use another command here, fill, and look in the list of colors. And you know, the color, maybe this tan. Yeah, we can try a tan, or maybe we can try a sienna. I don't want to make it too close to the wheels, so just to make them a little bit different. Let's try this tan, and if it doesn't look good, we can try a different color. So again, remember, don't just put like that the text. The computer will produce an error. I'm gonna show you. See, 10 is not defined. What we have to do is specify it between quotes, and we learned about this kind of strings last time when we discussed, remember, stroke about the text command that also took the string as an argument. So the same is with this background fill commands. They expect this number as this argument as a string. So let's put in between quotes and run it again, and we have now the ground, you know, in a nice shade of brown. It's not too realistic, but we don't have to be realistic at the end of the day. And now for sun, it's easy. For sun, we'll just use fill, and we'll put yellow. And don't just invent colors. I know for sure yellow is in that list, so always check against the list. But the pretty common names like yellow, red, green, brown, blue, they're already in the list, you know. For more and you can just type them like that if you remember them. So let's see. Okay, we have a nice sun. Now let's let's switch to our list here and put the other command. This is called fill, and also takes an argument, the name of the color. So maybe we should put here green. All right. So we have background, that is the color for the entire background. So this is color here. And fill is basically the color for shape. So if we have a circle, if we have a rectangle, the fill is what goes inside these shapes. All right. Now, let's learn other commands, and perhaps, you know, I told you that we can basically control the color of the shapes as well, the stroke as well. So let's let's go here perhaps to the ground and have it a different color, that ground. So the command for that one is stroke, and also accepts a command here, a color here. Red. Well, it's not very realistic. So let's choose another shade of brown, maybe sienna. Let's sienna how it looks like. Sienna. All right, looks a little bit, you know, a nicer shade of brown. And I'm gonna do one more thing. Remember yesterday we also discussed about how to control the thickness of the line? Let's use that opportunity and basically increase the thickness of the lines for the wheels. So we're gonna go in the wheel here, and the command was stroke weight. Remember, uppercase W, it's very important, and in one word, no spaces. And let's use a stroke weight of 5. Let's run it. All right, so we have the wheels of a different thickness here, which is good because we want to represent the wheels more realistically. So we have, this is good. But notice everything that came after stroke weight has also that stroke, so that weight. So basically what we have to do after we finish with this stroke weight, perhaps here at the end, or maybe here, I'm gonna just change the stroke weight back to 1. So these two circles are drawn with this stroke weight, but then following that they are drawn with different kind of, with a regular 1 stroke. All right, so it looks much better. And what about if we don't want to have a stroke at all? So we want just the fill to show up and not the stroke around it. That's very simple. So let's say for the sun, we don't want that black or whatever color this is around the sun. We just want the sun to be yellow. So we're gonna use very simple command, no stroke. But it's simple, but pay attention. It's spelled as no stroke in one word with uppercase S. We discussed commands are always one word. Don't make them 2 words. Computer will not understand it. Let's run it. Okay, we don't have that line around the sun, but the sun rays totally disappeared. And that's because it affected also the drawings following that. And these were lines. And when we say no stroke, lines basically totally disappear. They are not displayed. So let's go back here. And after we put the circle, which is the sun, the body of the sun, the mass of the sun, the rays, we should put back stroke weight. Let's try this one. Actually, we need to specify back the stroke in this case. So let's say stroke, and this is yellow. Right, and we have again the sun rays. And since we are using stroke weight, we can make them 3 here, so the sun rays will be thicker. All right, this is a nice picture, don't you think? And we just coded here, unscripted, live on this stream. So let's compare it with the original one. This is the original one. This is basically, oh, I lost the page. And this is our new creation. Original, our program. All right, what's a celebration? And let's also take the opportunity to add the other comments here. So we discussed about fill. What else we discussed about? We discussed about, what about if we want to revert back? There's one more comment that I want to show you. So we drawn the sun with yellow. It's drawn yellow, but what about if we want to draw perhaps, let me switch back to here and let me run the program again. What if we want to draw, what can we draw here? Like a balloon, maybe a balloon is floating in this area here. So let's draw it a circle here, right? So let's go here. Oops. Let's draw a balloon. So we're gonna do a circle at coordinates, and we have to see what coordinates there. Perhaps 200, 200, and radius of 100. All right. Oh, that's a that's a pretty big balloon. I wanted a tiny balloon. Radius 200, so maybe at 100 here. Let's see. And a little bit to the left, 100. Okay, here is good. And we can draw also the, yeah, we can draw also the string here, but it's enough for now. So notice, because the circle follows the sun, this one is also drawn in yellow. So what can we do? First of all, if we want a different color, we can use this command here, fill, and perhaps we want the balloon to be drawn in the light blue. And I know this command is there, light blue. All right, and we can see it's drawn in light blue, the interior, and the outside is still yellow. We can control the outside again using the stroke command and choose a different one. But what about, yeah, let's control the outside, stroke, and perhaps we want to be red. You can see it red and light blue. But what about if we want, like last time in the original, like by default, remember shapes are not filled? How can we get rid of the fill? There is a simple command actually. Instead of using fill light blue here, we're gonna say no fill. No fill, like that. So let's run it. And now you see the sky is seen through. So if we place this circle above the car, we'll see the car through, and so on and so forth. So the instruction to get rid of the fill is no fill. Okay, let me save this program. And look what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna save it. And I'm gonna place it on the chat for you, just in case you didn't get the chance to also type it together with me. Let's say car and car draw with code. All right, so if you click on the link, you can basically open this program, you can save a copy of it, you can save it on your account, and so on and so forth. So let's switch here and discuss about this command. So it's no fill, like that. And notice it's a little bit different. So first of all, we see here the same pattern is made out of two words, but there is no space. So because there is no space in between, the computer just interprets it as a single word. But this letter is uppercase F. That's how the designer of this command intended. That's how he named it. So a person out there, when he thought about, okay, let's create a command to just clear out the fill, he said, I'm gonna name this command no fill, and I'm going to use an uppercase F. And because that person did it this way, we have just to type it exactly this way. We cannot change the F. We cannot make it lowercase f, otherwise they'll not match. JavaScript again is case sensitive. All right. So no fill, and notice something else. There are no arguments to this command. All these commands, they took like strings. If you remember from last time, the commands for drawing shapes, they took numbers as arguments to specify coordinates. No fill doesn't expect any argument. It's enough. The command itself is enough. We just say to the computer, no fill. That's it. However, we still have to open and close parentheses and then put semicolon. We don't put anything in between parentheses, but it's mandatory. You cannot skip the parentheses. You have to have them here. And I did that in the code. Notice in the code when I said no fill in here, and also no stroke was in the same category. Also with parentheses, but no argument, nothing in between parentheses. All right, so let's switch back here and put no fill command. So this is to basically again fill to specify the fill. No fill will just basically, it's applicable also to the interior of the shapes and does what the name says. The other command that we discussed today is stroke. Stroke. And the stroke takes a string as argument. It's the color. So let's say the stroke it's red. It's basically referring to the outside of the shape here. And if we want to get rid of the stroke altogether, the command is no stroke. Again, uppercase S here, and no arguments in between parentheses, and also it's applicable to the same thing here. All right, so these are about the strokes, and yesterday we saw another command and we use it today in the code is stroke weight. Stroke weight. And I fully recommend you to write them down in a notepad for you, in a notebook. You'll remember them much easily, and once you basically practice these commands in your programs, you'll just remember them. But in the beginning, it's just a memory exercise. Stroke weight, and this one takes a number. Perhaps I put here a 5 or a 3, or it's the thickness of the line. Right. Now, let me switch back to the code. I want to show you something else really quickly. So let's say you forget about this command and you're about to code here on your nice keyboard, clunky keyboard, noisy keyboard like mine, and maybe you forgot how to draw a circle. Well, if you go here and under, let me make this one a little bit zoom. Well, if you go under drawings, see, and drawing shapes, we can see here some examples. Look, the ellipse that we discussed yesterday, rectangle. So all you have to do is basically click this small little button, send to editor, and we have it here. And perhaps we should send also a triangle. And now, of course, this quick hints contains info about other things that we'll learn in the future, so feel free to browse around, but this section is already accessible to you, because based on what we learned until now, you should find it pretty accessible. So go under quick hints, drawing, and then select from here drawing shapes, and you see these ones, how to draw an arc, a point, and then, well, you can see also what we discussed today about colors: fill, circle, stroke weight, no fill, and just one single button, and boom, you send that into the editor and play with the numbers, and you'll remember pretty quickly what the command is doing. So I just send this to the editor. Let's see what they are doing. There are these two shapes here. Well, the good part is that this is a text editor, so if we messed up anything, we just delete it like that. Delete it, save it, run it, and we got rid of those unnecessary shapes in our drawing. Okay, back to the drawing board here. So we discuss about background fill, no fill, stroke, no stroke, stroke weight. So, and basically these are ways to control the attributes of what is drawn. Everything that is drawn in the canvas, for instance, let's take a circle. A circle has a stroke, and then the interior of the circle, basically here, it's considered the fill, right? So this, whatever it's on the outside here, is controlled by the stroke commands, this series of commands, and whatever is drawn here is controlled by the fill commands. And the entire background, we control it with the background. So stroke, it's a family of commands, and fill the same, basically. These are for the fill, these are for the stroke. All right, so see, we have a new page of commands that should complement the one that we saw last time when we discussed about creating shapes. And last time I think we, let me quickly find that page. Yep, it's over here. So we discussed about shapes. We have this nice list of commands at our disposal. And now we have also new commands to basically control the colors and other attributes of the shapes. Well, I hope you you like this exercise. Let me run it. It's a pretty nice drawing, right? So I save it and I put there the link to the program in the chat. Feel free to refer to it and extend it. And don't forget, I gave you a homework last time to do a similar drawing, or maybe to write your names with lines. You can still do that drawing, that exercise. Now, if you are into, before we wrap up the lesson for today, I just want to mention, if you are still into this kind of drawings, or again, if you are a parent, or if you are a computer science educator, and if you want to do this kind of exercises with your kids or with students, I'm going to show you something here. I noticed something on the CodeGuppy website, so let me really browse. Here I noticed under the let me zoom out. Oops. Let me zoom out, goes under the download section. And where is it? Okay, this one. All right. So basically what we draw today, the car is actually inspired and is coming from this booklet. This is the car. We didn't draw it exactly like in here. We did our own interpretation, but this booklet is full of other programs, and actually these are typing programs. So one way to use this is just type them in, print the booklet or print the preferred program from the booklet, type it in yourself. Some programs are longer, as you can see. So this is start on here and then continue here. Always remember, run it from time to time to avoid accumulation of error. Some are more tedious to type, totally understandable, but you know, this is good exercise, good typing exercise, just also helps you improve your attention to the details. If you miss a comma, I'm pretty sure you'll have plenty of hours to debug that thing, and it's not easy to find a comma if you missed it. I'm telling you from experience. So try to type it exactly as it appears and run it often. So in case you experience that kind of issue, it's basically easier to spot. Now, either type in these programs yourself or just invent your own new program. Like we said, maybe write your name with lines, or do other, you know, imagine any other drawing, do it on a grid paper. And if you create something interesting, something original, share it with us here in the chat. You can also shoot me an email or share it the other way. I'm pretty sure people will like to see what you are drawing with code. This technique is called drawing with code. All right, now these programs, they may contain something that we didn't learn today, and just to make an introduction to the next lesson, notice background that we discussed today has this string that doesn't look like a human readable string, doesn't say here blue or red or things like that. This is an RGB color, and we're going to discuss all about RGB colors in JavaScript, how computers create any shade of color starting from these RGB numbers. We're going to discuss into the next lesson. So yeah, if you don't understand this one, type it as exactly as is, or you know, just once you can change it with your color that you want. So next time and check the website, check YouTube, subscribe to the channel and check there when will be the next streaming. We're gonna discuss about colors, and then slowly we finish probably the entire chapter about the coordinate system, canvas, colors, and we completed our toolbox of drawing commands. And following that, we're gonna start into JavaScript elements such as variables, repetitions, create animations, and so forth. Okay, so we are just at the beginning. We're starting slow. Take your time, do plenty of exercises, and have fun. It's very important to have fun while coding. Okay, so happy coding, see you next time, and thank you for watching.